Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Stafford.
Here.
Alderman Lincoln. Alderman Sahosky.
Here.
Alderman Weston.
Here.
Alderman Sherman.
Here.
Alderman Thompson.
Here.
Alderman Woodward. All present except for Alderman Lincoln and Alderman Woodward.
Thank you. First item.
Resolved that the minutes of the Common Council meeting held on March 7, 2000 are hereby approved as per attached.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item.
Whereas the city clerk was authorized and directed to advertise for a public hearing to be held at this Common Council meeting of March 21st, relative to a proposed local law which would amend Chapter 165, subsection 165-46, Schedule 2 of the Vehicle and Traffic Ordinance of the City of Fulton entitled Speed Limits. Mayor Stafford will now declare this public hearing open.
Sergeant Romanchek, you have studied this area?
Yes, sir. What this is frankly more of a name change than anything else. The current statute says that it says Recreation Park roads. We're simply changing it to keep in line with 911 and the name of the actual roads, Corporal Ballard Drive and the other road.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would care to speak on this issue? Anyone on the council? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I will, opposed? Hearing none. Do we now have a motion to amend Chapter 165, Sub 46?
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Whereas the city clerk was authorized and directed to advertise for a public hearing to be held at this meeting of March 21st, relative to consider repealing Chapter 165, subsection 165-66.1 of the Vehicle and Traffic Ordinance of the City of Fulton, which implements a seasonal parking ban on State Street. Mayor Stafford will now declare the public hearing open.
Is there anyone in the audience who would care to speak on this issue? It is
Between Park and Third?
It's between Park and Third.
between Park and Third. There is a section of that street that has been it was placed in January of 1990. No parking anytime from November 1st to April 1st is what the sign says. On State Street between South 3rd and Park Street.
So it's on the south side for a distance of 180 feet east of South 3rd Street. And that's the resolution that was passed in 1990. That's when it was passed.
Okay.
State Street at the church, I don't know if this has anything to do with the seasonal park or anything else, but I know my daughter lives on Park Street between State and what is the other one, south of State. And when they go to church, if there's a fire truck had to come down State Street, ain't no way in heck it's going to make it because there's nothing. cars parked on both sides, and they go right from 4th Street to Park, and then just a little bit beyond Park on State Street, and around the corner. They can only park on one side of Park Street because there's no parking on the west side. There's only parking on the east side. But that part of State Street is awful tight. I don't know why they allow parking on both sides. I know there's a parking lot right in there for the church, but whether that gets used up or not, and they can park in the road. But I wouldn't want to have a fire truck come down that way. But I know that's not to do with the seasons. Not if this is it.
Well, this was seasonal from from November 1st to April 1st.
Just that one part.
Mayor, can we have officer around check and tell us why he's taking the sign down?
Sergeant?
Mayor, this all started a few weeks ago when we investigated an accident that occurred in that area. And I found this ordinance that, frankly, I was amazed that was there. Somebody had backed out of a driveway and struck a vehicle. And at issue came the fact that somebody was parked in violation of this section, even though one of the signs was missing at the time, and it was a snowstorm. It was difficult to see the signs. And I looked into it, and I found this no parking anytime from November 1st to April 1st. This is the only area in the city where we have such a regulation. So I researched back to when the original legislation was passed in 1990. And the traffic lieutenant at that time, I looked at his paperwork to try to determine what kind of standards were used to put this up. One of the things we tried to do, and we've been trying to do for the past couple of years, is to reduce the unnecessary amount of signs in the city. We go by engineering standards, the municipal manual on uniform traffic control devices. We go through accident histories. We go through a lot of those things. When you make regulations, you have to have some sort of a basis to do it when you regulate people's lives. And when I look back on this, I saw there was no traffic studies. There wasn't even basically a measurement of the street. The only quote I can tell you is maybe an indication of why it was put in was, quote, "I offer the following possible suggestion if it is your desire to create no parking in the area to attempt to appease them," that being residents in the area. That really does not fall down as a valid reason for a regulation. I went and I did an engineering study of that area. That street is not different than any other street in the city. It's very typical. It's 24 feet wide, to be exact. Guess what? The street next to it is 24 feet wide. The parallel street next to it is 24 feet wide. After 3 recent snowstorms, we went out and measured how much usable feet was in that area. It was exactly 20 feet. The street next, 20 feet. The street after that, 20 feet. So there's nothing particular in this section of the city that makes this where we have to have a regulation where people simply can't park on the side of the street because there might be snow there. In fact, when we looked into it, we didn't find any accident history. Okay? We didn't find, and we went back for 5 years, by the way, through all our records. The one accident we've had, and not more than any other place in the city, was caused by somebody backing unsafely. In fact, when we look into it, we think that a sign such as this nature can kind of give people almost a false expectation of protection that they don't have anywhere else in the city. And in that way, it can almost lead to accidents. We have to be very careful when we let regulations like this go, because I don't know how you cannot justify somebody else who has the same size street as this street going, well, I'd like a sign too, no parking, so I could back out in my driveway without looking. It's not necessary. I think it sets up a bad precedent, and it's not backed up by any accident studies or anything like that. It's the only sign we have like that in the city, and there's no need for it, and I think it should be repealed.
There was no accident history prior to it being implemented in 1990?
As far as I could go back, but I couldn't find any. Of course, the records are bad. But you got to understand, there's none listed in here in this traffic study that was done. All that's mentioned is we're going to put the sign in to appease the residents.
If that sign is to be removed, if we repeal this, and parking is allowed, would that mean parking would be allowed on both sides of the street?
It would mean that in that particular area, Just because there's snow on the ground, people could park there. That wouldn't be prohibited from parking there.
But what
Just
I'm
like any other area in the city.
Is the other side of that street, is parking restricted on that?
I'd have to check into that, Mayor.
Because I tend to agree that when we have areas around a church like that, I think we need to be very careful if people park on both sides of the street, and it does prevent, we have to be very careful, it doesn't prevent emergency vehicles from getting down the street. I'm wondering if, instead of a seasonal sign, should there be some other regulation there year-round?
We can look into that, and we can do a study on that. And once again, we'll do that on the basis of accident history and causal factors that we can say shows and demonstrates a need for the regulation.
I think those accident things are a bunch of baloney, because a lot of times why do we have to wait till there's an accident?
Well, you don't know about the close misses.
Well, I know you don't, but when you see a corner that's dangerous and everything, something should be done about it.
Oh, definitely, and I agree with you. But is this just a seasonal problem that we have here, or is it a larger problem that exists all year long? It only gets worse in the wintertime. That's
In
my
that
question.
area too, isn't there a school or something? Isn't there a building there?
There's a school and a church, two churches. Yes.
The question doesn't border the church property. The question is between Park and South 3rd Street. Their church is up on the corner of 4th, between Park and South 4th Street.
Do they use that street for parking during church?
But the parking, the no parking is in
The
front
no
of our
parking is down in front of our house between 3rd and Park Street. What the lady is referring to is the church parking between probably Park and South 4th Street, which does get pretty congested there. If there should be a sign, it should be up there, if anything, where there's going to be a sign, not between Park and South 3rd Street.
Your Honor, may I address the police officer's comments? Two accidents occurred 9 years ago. A school teacher had a car backed into, and someone at the church had their car backed into. Jack Kriego didn't come up there to appease anyone. Jack Kriego came up there in the middle of December when the road was down to one lane of traffic. He didn't do it from his desk. He didn't do it driving by. He sat there for 15 or 20 minutes and watched traffic. We have 45 to 50 cars a day travel from 481 to 4th Street upstate. It's a heavy street. That's the first problem. The second problem, when the roads are 5 foot high on either side, and you park a car there, it cuts off all traffic coming through, including the OCO buses that are leaving that parking lot in the school. Forget the churches for a minute. When the school buses come in, they come in from Park. They pull into the parking lot. They can't turn those big buses around to go back out Park. They go to 3rd. When they come out of that parking lot, if there's a car parked across the street, they can't get by it, they have to go around it. When traffic is coming from 3rd onto State or upstate, they have to wait behind that parked car for the bus to get out. We also have a school bus dropping off high school kids on that very spot every day at 3 o'clock. It's a heavy traffic area. Now, fire engines are up there continuously. We have a special school on the corner, State Street. This area we're talking about is directly across from the parking lot of that school. They're up there checking smoke alarms, fire alarms. They're up to the State Street School where there was a daycare school. They're checking up there for gas leaks and any other thing. That fire engine's up there once a month. They don't come up 4th Street. They don't come up Park Street. They come up 3rd and make a left onto State. If there's a car right there, they can't get around it. The plow trucks can't get through if there's a car there. The blade is wider than the area. I lived on this street for 15 years. I know how small the street gets when the snow is out there. Jack Kriego didn't do it in the spring of the year. He did it in December, in the middle of winter. Now we have Eka Drugs. We have Taco Bell at the end of 3rd. We have Wendy's, Kentucky Chicken, Rite Aid, and Dandy Donuts. Coming up State Street, we have the hospital on 4th Street. If you go around the corner from the school, there are signs both sides. No parking here, no parking there. You can't park from here to here. You can't park from there to there. On the other side of the school, on Park. Why is this side of the school any different? The sign was put up there for one reason. 4 months out of the year, we have a clogged street with snow. Now, I have a problem because when they park over there, they're directly across from my driveway. Now, Mr. Smith's driveway backs into a parking lot and 2 driveways, so there's no curb. In fact, there is no curb on that whole street except for the last 50 feet from my driveway to the corner. Not enough room for 2 cars to park. So I'm the one that has trouble backing out because I've got nowhere to go. Now, let me ask you something. When they plow that schoolyard, where do you think they put the snow? Up against their fence, above their fence, and out into the street. Now, anyone backing out of my neighbor across the street can get out. He can get right up to that snow mound. But I guarantee you, if a car is parked there, he couldn't get out. So the sign is there for a purpose, not to appease anyone on the street, but to prevent accidents. We had no accidents for 9 years until that night when the young man parked out there. Until then, the sign was working. And I'm annoyed to think that a police officer standing in the middle of the street became judge and jury and decided to interpret the law and not give a ticket to an illegally parked vehicle that caused an accident. If it wasn't there would have been no accident. His job is to enforce the law. Not selective enforcement, but enforcement for everyone. Now, you want to do a study? Go down 1 block to State and 481. There's an accident on that corner every single month. Somebody's trying to get across from Dunkin' Donuts to come up State. Someone's trying to make a left off of 481 onto State. This guy says go ahead, he goes, the other guy's splitting down 30 miles an hour, nails him. You want to do something in your study? Find out how State Street will work if it's one way down to 481. No more left turns. That's a good study. But to sit in City Hall and say, take down this sign because there is no other sign like it in the city, what kind of reasoning is that? Because there's no other sign like that? I'll tell you why there's no other sign. Because not every sign in the city is dealing with the conditions we have. 2 churches, a school, OCA buses, fleets of them with vans, cars, and buses that can't turn around in the street. We have school buses dropping off kids on that exact spot. So what is the problem with not having someone park when the snow is piled up for 4 months of the year? It's inconvenient to me, but no one else. So the heck with me. Is that how it works? And I resent the fact that it was put up for an appeasement. That is not why Jack Kriegel put that up there.
Apparently, that is what he put in the report.
Well,
He's
then
reading from a
then I'm
report.
angry with Jack Kriegel.
Okay, but, you know.
But there were 2 accidents.
Sure.
Both leaving the driveway. And I told you last time I was here, I was very annoyed, not only with this police officer, but a former city judge parked right there twice. 2 Sundays in a row. And I went out and said, do you see the sign? He said, yes, but I'm going to church. I said, I hope you're in there praying that no one's going to hit your car. And if you know who I'm talking about, he's got a wagon that's about as big as a yacht. Now, if you want to have a little consideration for your neighbor, and let me tell you, I've had 6 phone calls since this happened. People are saying, Al, it's all over the city. We have inconsiderate people that come to visit across the street. They park directly across from my driveway. We can't get out, winter or summer. So does the guy parking the car say, well, let me be a nice neighbor. Let me be considerate of my neighbor. Let me not park here so I'm blocking that driveway. Or, with a little intelligence, he should say, maybe I better not park there because they're going to smash into my car. No, it's parked there anyway. Who does it inconvenience? Me and the apartment house next door.
That agrees with me too, Al, because I have no place to park if I have company come to my house.
I've offered you my driveway, you know it.
When they're
And there's my side of the street, you can
That-
park
but-
right on the curb.
discussion between neighbors is fine, but
We've
not
been
right
good
here.
neighbors. For 15 years, we've been good neighbors. And I still consider him a good neighbor. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would care to speak on this? Is there anyone on the council that would care to speak on this?
I have a comment as far as it's in relation to this whole situation. Last year, I put in a request for a traffic study over on Pratt Street between 6th and 7th Street. They have no parking up there that was put there years ago because of the grocery store down on 5th. People were going to the store, parking all over the streets around the neighborhood. So the store doesn't do quite the business it used to, and the neighbors there last year had requested that the signs be removed so that they themselves and whoever else could park there. Traffic study came back, denial because the street wasn't supposedly wide enough. It looks no narrower than any other street in the city, and that it wasn't wide enough to allow fire trucks and such through there if people were parking on the street. It just, to me, this whole thing looks kind of funny. I don't know why. I know we've got no parking on Lion Street. That is year-round no parking because of the same situation with people backing out of their driveways. People from Nestle's park there, and we've had, violations before where they still continue to. I drove by there today, in fact, and nobody was parked there. But I know that there's been complaints from the neighbors that people have been parking along Lion Street from Nestle's. And it's the same situation. I don't know why that one was pretty much turned down last year. I know we could have gone ahead and removed them anyway, but it just, to me, it looks kind of funny that why is one better than the other? I don't know.
Well, I can understand if we have one area in the city, there are a possibility that others are going to ask for the same situation, and I think every situation has to be judged on its own merits. The question that I have is this only a wintertime problem, or is it a problem that needs to be addressed all year long if parking on both sides of that street is allowed and emergency vehicles can't get down the street? I think we have a definite safety issue. Those are my feelings. Every time that what you have to remember is every time you pass a law that's under a different subhead like this one is, which is just seasonal parking, it does open up the possibility of many more requests for the same. And that could, a lot of times, cause an awful lot of problems. And the only way that you're going to take care of your situation, or the situation that you bring up, of somebody parking across from a driveway and not using consideration, is to make no parking on the street. Then it's taken care of.
It's not just to be around.
No. It's what you brought up. If people were considerate, we wouldn't need laws. But people aren't considerate. They don't think a lot of times. They do what is the most convenient thing for them. And some of them don't care if there's a no parking sign there or not. And it's not just on that street, it's all over. But what we have to look at is a public safety issue, and is that street big enough to hold parking on both sides of the street and still allow emergency vehicles down through there?
Not those 4 months out of the year.
And we have that on a lot of streets, but do we need seasonal parking or seasonal parking bans on some streets? Entire blocks of them? I don't know.
But how many streets have a caravan of buses coming and going from
I understand. That's why I say if there are more requests of this nature, it would have to be looked at on a case-by-case basis, because the circumstances aren't going to be the same every time. I understand both sides of this. And by doing this back in 1990, it possibly opened up a Pandora's box, but nobody's done anything up till now. But now that it's been brought public, there may be more requests. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Anyone else care to speak on this issue? Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there, do I hear a motion to repeal this section, to repeal Chapter 165, subsection 165-66-1? I hear no motion.
Defeated for failure to carry a motion.
Alderman Sherman, do you want any more study done in that area?
I didn't realize till tonight that it's only covering 180 feet from the corner of South 3rd. And maybe we should do a traffic study to include the entire length between 3rd and Park.
Right, that's a motion for a traffic study to
On the south side of the...
study the south side of that street for,
Yes.
for the entire block?
Yeah.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I just think it may remove some confusion along that.
Sergeant Romanchik, we'll get that written request down to you tomorrow, and we can check into this further. Thank you. Next item.
Whereas the city clerk was authorized and directed to advertise for a public hearing to be held at this council meeting on March 21st relative to proposed local law which would amend Chapter 137 of the Fulton City Code entitled Sewers as required by the EPA. Mayor Stafford will declare the hearing open.
No.
No, you don't want
This has all been done through the water department with, it's just something that they've put through several times, and the EPA keeps slightly changing the requirements, and that's about all I know about it. But it's really something that's been their baby.
just, nothing's changing other than the required language in the law.
You know, I want to say, I don't know for sure if this is the one, but I know we had passed something recently where there was a wording about some mineral, I believe it was iron.
Iron, yes.
That was incorrect, and I'm not sure that's what this is about.
No, this has to do with conditions. Effluent limitations.
Yeah, again,
But
I know it's done in conjunction with EPA requirements, and it's been, John Floric from the Water Department has been in constant contact with them, and basically they've, I know it's in compliance with what EPA is requesting, and it's not, I think it's more in language than it is of any substance.
Yes.
The changes.
Hopefully they will, if we pass this, they will accept it this time and it'll be done. Anyone care to speak on this issue? Anyone on the council? Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Entertain a motion for the proposal of local law to amend Chapter 137 of the Fulton City Code entitled Sewers.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
Resolved that in accordance with the agreement entered into between Dean Foods and the City of Fulton in September 1997, the mayor is hereby authorized to execute an easement to Dean Foods, now AgriLink Foods, Inc., for the purpose of parking of tractor trailers. Said authorization is expressly conditioned upon receipt from AgriLink Foods, Inc. of an executed easement to maintain the existing sewer line.
Is this to get back to the pump house in the back there?
It really doesn't have anything to do with that.
Really?
No, it
No.
really doesn't. This is, and I don't know, Joe, did you send a copy of this on to everybody, this letter? Joe,
Yes.
did you send a copy of that on?
I didn't have that.
I didn't get it.
I just had this one.
It isn't in the...
Okay, well, there was a letter of understanding in September '97 between then Mayor Bullard and Millard Sullivan at Dean Foods. Basically said that once the legal descriptions of these properties were obtained, the city attorney would draft appropriate easements which involved the city's consenting to the paving of the area on West 7th Street by Dean's Foods, granting them a revocable easement for the parking of tractor trailers, and in exchange they would grant the city an easement for use or to get into the sewer lines there. So it's just essentially legalizing what's already been done. I mean, this was done by written agreement. The place was immediately paved, and they've been parking there. And we have certainly had the right to go, they haven't denied us access to the sewers since then, but this is something that I found that really should be reduced to deeds, and that's why we're going to do it this way.
We will do this, and then they will provide us with an executed easement for the access to the sewers.
Right.
Okay. Anyone care to speak on this issue?
That AgriLink, when you see Burnside?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone on the council?
Do we need to do something separate for that pump house that's in the middle of the paper street that goes through there?
Well, that's a separate issue. We've actually had discussions with, there's 3 separate property owners back there. We've had discussions with,
I believe one of them is a close friend of Alderman Zahoski.
we've had discussions with them about
He said tongue-in-cheek.
what their desires are.
He was
with
worried
it.
that she couldn't get to her property or something like
Right.
that.
We've had discussions with them, and we're waiting for a response on
Okay.
what we can work out with them.
Okay.
But it has nothing to do with this
Nothing to do with this, no.
situation.
I'll offer.
All right. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, this wasn't a public hearing. I'm sorry. We've had too many public hearings tonight.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second.
A motion and a second on the resolution.
I'll move that one, too. I'll second it also.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Please excuse my confusion. Next item.
Resolved that Chapter 165, subsection 165-60, Schedule 16 of the Vehicle and Traffic Ordinance of the City of Fulton entitled No Standing be amended to read as follows. No standing, add name of street, North 2nd Street, west side, location from Oneida Street north for 60 feet.
Sergeant Romanchek, in reading the report from Mr. Brannon, this is just an obvious omission from things that have been done in the past. Okay.
Danny, the way I read this is the sign was there, but without being on the books. And then the sign came down when they fixed the sidewalk, and now we can't put the sign back up until it goes onto the books? For real the first time?
Well,
So really the sign was there in error before?
omission, you need an ordinance to cover every sign. And as we find some signs that have been installed without the ordinance, then...
But the sign's already been installed once and taken down. So my
Right.
question is, was it there in error to begin with? Or it was supposed to be there, but...
They probably thought, however, years ago, thought that, in fact, that this was going to be passed by the council, and it was passed.
The sign went up, but it was never passed.
But apparently it was never put in, and therefore they just put the sign up, not realizing that, in fact, it hadn't been documented in the code.
Okay.
We occasionally find those, luckily not too often. We're going to fix it.
Do I hear a motion?
Why not? I'll move it.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Seems to be my night.
Motion is carried. The next item we have is a resolution of respect. This was requested by the chairman of our plumbing commission, plumbing board. Whereas Frederick Cooper passed from this life on March 4th, year 2000, and whereas Frederick Cooper was born in Fulton, New York, and later resided in Hannibal, New York, where he spent the rest of his life, and whereas Frederick Cooper was a licensed master plumber and retired after 30 years as owner of Cooper's Plumbing and Heating, and whereas he was a former employee of Sealright Corporation in Fulton, New York, and whereas after he retired, he worked 10 years with the Green Thumb program at Fairhaven State Park, and whereas he was a member of Fulton VFW Post 569 and was a member of the Plumbers Union, and whereas Frederick Cooper honorably served his country and is an Army veteran of World War II, and whereas Frederick Cooper is survived by his wife Phyllis of 54 years, his daughter Frances Sheldon of Fulton, two sisters, Adeline Kellogg of Hannibal and Elizabeth Lindsley of Florida, two grandsons, and 4 great-grandchildren. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Michael K. Stafford, Mayor of the City of Fulton, members of the Common Council, members of the Plumbing Board, the Plumbers Union, convey our sincere sorrow to his family and his friends and all that knew him. And be it further resolved that this resolution of respect is hereby entered into the minutes of this Common Council meeting of March 21st, year 2000, and a copy of it to be transmitted to the immediate family of the late Frederick Cooper. Next item. We had a request from the Nurses Union at Lee Memorial Hospital to be included on the agenda this evening. Do we have anyone? Would you please come forward?
My name is Katrina Benak, and I'm an LPN at the hospital. I've been there for 15 years, and as you originally know, there was probably going to be a large group of us, but there was a press release released this morning, or this afternoon, from the hospital, which was good news, we feel, for the city of Fulton, that they have decided to stop the implementation of the plan to remove the LPNs from the hospital and replace them with patient care aides. So the union here at the hospital asked me to just come and just speak for just a moment and just say that we are deeply grateful and really appreciate the community support that we have received from everyone in the city of Fulton and the residents of Oswego County, and we are just overwhelmed with the support that we received during this difficult time. We also want to thank the physicians. The physicians stood behind us 100%, and we look forward to working with the board of the hospital, the administration, and the nurses working together to continue to provide the good quality care that we feel that we give at the hospital here in Fulton. And we're very grateful for this decision, and we just want to say thank you to everyone for all the support that the community has given us through this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item under discussion is a request we have received from Jeff Hodge at Community Development in regards to having a trash amnesty week, citywide cleanup day. Have you all received copies of that?
Yes.
Bottom line is they have tried trash amnesty weeks in the past, and they have gotten out of hand due to the not abiding by the schedule that was put out. And it's created a mess throughout the city. It's taken a long time to clean up. What they are suggesting this time, they have met with Commissioner Graham, and what they are proposing this time is an amnesty
location.
program, but there will be a drop-off point, which will be in the parking lot that is north of the United Street Bridge. And there'll be an east side, it's planned for an east side drop-off on May 13th and a west side drop-off at the same location on May 20th. So we won't be just putting stuff out at the curb, they'll be taking it to one area and then we'll dispose of it from there. And the money that we're looking for, they're estimating the tipping fees for that to be $20,000, and they're asking the city to provide $10,000 of that, and CDA will fund the other half.
They're going to be checking IDs to see what side of the river you live on?
Or whether you live in the...
No, but they'll probably be checking IDs to make sure that they're city residents. We don't really need to.
Sure you don't want to just run it the way we ran it last time and advertise it as garbage picking week?
Well, no, I don't think that's going to work very well.
I mean, the reason I ask is, at least for me, I know I'm going to be predisposed on May 13th. So, I mean, is there going to be...
I'm sure we can make arrangements.
Is there like time to like make the week?
Yes.
Not picking up.
Well,
And stuff, like furniture and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, what they've done in the past, but in the past what they've done is they've done one amnesty week and everything went out to the curb, but it was supposed to go out on a certain week for each side of the river, and that didn't work, and it turned out to be amnesty month.
May 13th.
And that does not work. We do not need that out at the curb for that extended period of time. So hopefully we're going to try this, and this will work. It's going to be save the residents a little bit of money. Not that it costs that much to get a sticker to put a large item out, but if you want to get rid of something, all you'll have to do is bring it down to that parking lot, and it'll go. But we need to fund half of the tipping fees.
We discussed this a couple weeks ago at a meeting with the CDA, and at the mention of it, it caused Alderman Lincoln and Weston to start going into convulsions. So it brought bad memories for them.
Does this change sound like it may be?
I think, once again, I think I'm certainly in favor of trying things like this. We obviously, the first time we had it, we had no idea that we were going to have to handle that much trash. So as a result, the tipping fees were expensive, and as some people mentioned, it looked like Fulton had gone through a war when they drove into town. So the fact that everybody was just putting out everything to the road, and of course we had never had one before. This was the first time, and I think we had just gotten off the sticker program with the. So where people were using stickers, now they had the ability to put out everything they had that they had accumulated over the months or years or whatever. So I think the first time it would be the worst time. I think that this certainly won't be anything of that kind of magnitude, but I think this is let's try it. That's the thing.
By doing it in this format, I think it should be a lot less cumbersome than last time, and a lot more eye appealing to the city.
I think the only thing is, as Alderman Sahaski asked me, how the people that may not have the ability to bring what they have down to a location, like senior citizens, they may not have the capability of taking things to a location.
Truck, don't you, Bob?
But I have a truck, that's right.
And a cell phone. You can be on call.
Well, what's your phone number, Bob?
This is something.
I guess kind of along those lines, I want to ask a kind of a practical question, and I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but if somebody can't drag their trash to the dump and pay $2 on a Saturday, I was going to say they're going to drag it to the lot for free on a Saturday.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to drag it to the road, and I think the response is going to be less than you would anticipate.
Could be. Well, that's a possibility, but if we don't try it, we won't know. Is it going to get the results we're looking for? I really don't know. If it doesn't, maybe we're going to have to go back to putting it at the curb again if we do something like this. But again, if we do that, it seems to extend this over a lengthy period of time.
What if we did it by quadrant, though?
What if we got out of the garbage business?
We discussed that, too, doing it by quadrant.
Right.
Take 4 weeks to do it. Last time, I think they tried to do it in days. A couple days here, a couple days there, and it didn't. They ordered more garbage than they ordered more trash than they expected.
Well,
But again, there may not be as much as last
It was
time.
citywide, it was just too,
Yeah.
it was too much.
But this may give us a chance to clear this up. We may have to make arrangements, and we can discuss further with CDA if possibly they can help make arrangements with some of these people if they can't get the stuff, to arrange for transport or something. We might be able to do something like that. Can't do it on an ongoing basis, but this one time to get the city cleaned up, I think it's worth giving it a shot.
I wish you could have a lot of trash there.
Have you prepared a resolution on this? Would you read the resolution, please?
Whereas the Community Development Agency met with residents throughout the city of Fulton, and whereas as a result of that meeting and working with neighborhood volunteers, they concluded that there was a need for a citywide cleanup and amnesty week for trash, and that some type of amnesty program will give a positive attitude about cleaning up neighborhoods and revitalizing the community. Whereas in coordination with the Commissioner of Public Works, it was agreed that it would be more manageable to have one drop-off point for people to bring their trash, and that said location would be the parking lot below the United Street Bridge. Now therefore be it resolved that May 13th, 2000 will be Trash Amnesty Day for the east side of the river, and May 20th, 2000 will be Trash Amnesty Day for the west side of the river. Both drop-off points will be the parking lot below the United Street Bridge. And be it further resolved that the Common Council authorizes an amount not to exceed $10,000, which is 1/2 of the estimated cost of tipping fees, and that the Community Development Agency also commits funding half of said cost. Be it further resolved that the City Chamberlain is authorized to transfer $10,000 from the contingent account into the appropriate DPW account for said cost.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
Is there any way that we can make sure this is heavily advertised only so that people don't put all their crap to the road?
Yes.
I mean, I'm just afraid that in the fine print, it's going to say go to the lot, and you drive around on Saturday and everybody's got piles at the end of the driveway.
We will make sure that the advertising is done very clearly.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Cleanup, but it has something else to do with the gravel and the roads. Now, you know where I live on the end of South 7th Street. The gravel and the stuff goes halfway out on my side, and then from the warehouse, the whole sidewalk is one massive gravel plus the road. We haven't had a thing come up through, which isn't going to make any sense unless somebody comes up and shovels. I shoveled in front of mine today.
They're out doing that right now. I know that they were working on
I saw them this morning.
South 4th Street down by the hospital doing the same thing, shoveling the sand up.
They're going to shovel it first.
They're going around doing that, yes, because it's that heavy.
Neighbor luckily wanted to fill in his driveway, so he took the bucket, he put it down there, but there's digging, especially around Nessie's, under all their parking lots, on the sidewalks, and I don't know if they're gonna clean it up or not, but Nessie's gotta clean that sidewalk off, because that's a mess.
Yes, yes. But the city is out getting the sand and such away from the curb. A lot of it has to be done manually, and it doesn't happen as rapidly as we'd like, but as we can get crews loose, we have them out, and they're hitting the main streets first.
See that sweeper, and it's cleaning, but they haven't taken the gravel off.
Right. It's just too heavy in there. It's so heavy it has to be shoveled.
That's right, wait, time and money.
Yeah, that will loosen some of it, but some of it just has to be shoveled. That's all there is to it.
I have one question. I'm assuming that it's obvious that if our tipping fees don't reach 10,000, we just say we're not out that money.
Right. Definitely. We're going to just pay 50% up to 10,000. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Is there anyone in the audience that has any business to bring before the council? Is there anyone on the council that has any business to bring before the council?
How about I mention this, especially since Sergeant Romanchik is still here. item number 3, which was section 165, 66.1. If we're going to keep that section, how do you feel about adding a street, since there's only one on the books? And Rochester Street, south side of the road, it's 180 feet works, 180 feet east of 4th.
Requesting a traffic study?
He's already looked. You know the property I'm talking about? Big old pickup parks across the street from the other lady's driveway, can't get in and out. We've talked about that before.
Well,
This is the same type of situation.
once again, and not to rehash what I said about the particular issue here that was here before, these streets pretty much all the same width. We can make it easier, very easy for residents to back out of the driveway, simply don't have any parking across the street. That still is not going to eliminate the requirement that people back safely. And you try to make it as easy as you can for them, but they still have responsibilities. They have to understand that there are vehicles that park across the street, and I don't think any resident would like all their streets marked up because, with no parking signs just because, they're across the driveway. Fortunately, it's not my purview. It's your gentleman. I'll make any kind of study and give you my recommendations. But when we do a study, we try to go by facts and we try to go by accident history and things of that nature. And the fact is that we don't have any particular area in the city anywhere where we have more of that type of accident than anywhere else. It's a citywide problem, and 99% of the time it's attributed to unsafe backing.
Well, at this particular spot, I would be willing to bet there is no accident history. I think what's driving the problem now is the type of vehicles that both people own. One guy has, I think, a Ford F-350 extended cab, 4-wheel drive, it's got a great big truck. And the guy with the driveway drives a big van. So we got two big vehicles trying to get into a little spot. I think if one drove a Honda Civic and the other one was some other Japanese something, you wouldn't have this problem.
I know, but I would be I would be extremely hesitant requesting legislation on the type of vehicles that people own, in particular.
At the residents' request, would you please do a traffic study?
Sure. Anything that comes down, we'll look at it.
Would you
I would like to make that motion.
make a resolution to that?
Yes.
Do you know what it is?
Traffic Department, hereby directed to conduct a traffic study in the 400 block of Rochester for the purpose of determining the necessity of a no parking zone east of 4th Street on the south side of the road. How's that? Southeast corner of 4th and Rochester on the Rochester Street side.
But you want the no parking zone on Rochester Street?
On Rochester, on the south side.
South side of the street,
I'm not saying I want a sign there.
East.
That's where I want the study to be done.
study,
Yes,
east of
east of 4th.
4th Street. Okay, got that. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Anything further?
Mayor, I'd like to have something to say. I mean,
No, thank
Alderman
you.
Weston didn't have anything to say, and
I'm
you
gonna pass.
just jumped right over to me to Alderman Thompson there.
I have nothing to
We
say.
started this late tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I received a couple calls this evening before the meeting dealing with Dennis Shea. There's an overflow of vehicles being parked on that street. I called a couple of these people back. I got an answering machine, and I referred the information to them due to the fact that there is fill being brought in on the student parking lot at the high school on the north side. Many of these cars are filling in Dennis Shea. And I assured them that probably, as soon as everything is done, which will probably be another day or two, these cars will be back in that parking lot.
There is no parking regulations or restrictions on Dennis Shea. This has been a problem in the past. And I remember back during my time on the police department, this issue came up. And we said we can take care of this because it narrows it down so much if you park on both sides of the street. The residents over there just have to decide which side of the street they want to give up. And that didn't happen. So,
But they were pretty much concerned with emergency vehicles coming down there.
definitely.
But I think some of the problem has gone away due to the fact of the new parking lot for students. So we don't have that overflowing. But since Phil's being brought in now, another day or two, the cars will be back in the parking lot.
Hopefully that will
Okay, hopefully. Another complaint I had on West 5th Street, again, this was the same complaint that I dealt with last year. Conrail diesel sitting there and running the diesel. This individual complained to me. There's no reason for this individual to put up with this noise for 19 hours. We went through this last year. I did with the police department, and the information I received there was simply to have the individual call the police department, and they would send an officer up there. So that's where we stand with that so far.
Is that what he's doing now?
All right, this occurred yesterday, so it's starting all over again. Last year, when a police officer went up there, had no knowledge of what was going on. So he really didn't know what to do. But now I will talk to the chief to bring this back into light again.
If it's happening again, we need to notify them that that's not acceptable.
And then one other thing on a positive mark here, and I believe I brought this down to your office, Mayor, in the Fulton Red Raider, the high school newspaper. All right, we see here Fulton undergoing a major facelift, and just to make it short, students writing here and giving us some positive remarks here, an impressive array of improvements being done in the city. And I think you have this copy.
Yes. I'm glad to see that somebody is noticing, especially our young people. Sometimes it's very difficult to get their attention, but apparently we've been able to do that. Is there any other business? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session in regards to contract negotiations.
Again? Move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
You guys are the ones that have to vote on this.